So, if you can reduce your tax rate from 17 down to 7%, you make $100,000 a year. I'm making y'all do math in the middle of the morning, my bad. But how much are you saving? A lot, but $10,000 in that scenario, right? So you're saving $10,000 that you can reinvest into other areas. So when I think about earning, that's what I'm thinking about is, how to increase income and income sources through entrepreneurship, micro private equity, real estate, stocks, and then also how do you take that money that you earn and then reduce your taxes? The next is protect. So how do you go about limiting your downside risks in life, right? So how do you go about limiting your downside risk in life? And that really starts with creating a savings plan and credit, right? And this is a downward shaping, triangle. And the reason it's downward shaping is because the further you move down this particular triangle, pretty much the further society has devolved and the more protection. Oh, sorry, next slide, please. Yeah. So the more that you move down this triangle, the more society has devolved, and the more protection that you're actually going to need for you and your family to actually thrive and survive. All right. So the first line of defense is savings and credit. So who in here has a savings account, savings plan that they actively put money into, on a regular, consistent basis? Let's say either monthly or every paycheck, that type of thing. Great, because you're better than most Americans. I remember the government shutdown. Who remembers the government shutdown a few years ago? Right, when they actually shut it down. And I was surprised, I have a lot of friends who have, got all the educational degrees in the world, very successful. They have a great job, working for the U.S. government in this case. They, GS 13s and 14s and all those different types of things, making money. But when the government shut down, I was absolutely shocked and amazed by how many people couldn't survive a week without getting their regular paycheck. And these are six-figure earners a lot of times. They might be making, $100,000, $120,000, $80,000, $90,000. And even them who, quote unquote, are living, in the, middle class, type of lifestyle, they couldn't survive 1 week without getting a paycheck. And that's bondage. That's slavery. We want our people to have FU money, right? Yeah, who in here wants some FU money? Right. So that comes from the earning portion, but then it also comes from, the savings and, having access to capital, access to credit, which when we think about our businesses, and also our personal lives, we need to work on having additional access. So when things do go bad, first you rely on your savings, and then you might rely on, credit cards and other types of access to capital to ride those down waves. Because if you look at these major corporations out here, Tesla, Microsoft, or, whatever it might be, they have billions of dollars of lines of credit. And a lot of times they don't even need those lines of credit, but they have them there so they don't have to use their own capital to do certain things in terms of investing. But if things go bad, they're set in that way too. Insurance is the next thing, right? So there are a lot of people in this audience and at this conference that know insurance better than me. But, for me and my family, I think about it from a health insurance, life insurance, and disability type of insurance, protection. So protecting me as an asset as well and my wife, just in case we aren't able to work in the future.